Hello students, welcome to online session of Standard 8th History. Today we are going to learn chapter number 11, Struggle for Equality. Students, we have studied the effects of British rule in India, and also we have studied how various revolutionaries carried out agitations in India against the British rule. Through the Quit India movement, the severe discontent of Indian people against the British was expressed, which shook the foundation of British rule in India. Students, through these examples, we can understand that the struggle for political freedom was very much important in the progress of modern India. This struggle was based on broad philosophy of men's emancipation. Emancipation means liberty, freedom. And like freedom, the principle of equality is also very important. In this lesson, we will study about the contribution of the movements built up by various social groups such as farmers, workers, women, Dalits, etc., which will help us to understand the developmental process of modern India. So, let us first learn about peasants' movement. Students, we have studied in previous chapters how the Indian farmers had to suffer due to the ill effects of British economic policy. If farmers were not able to pay the land tax on time, their lands were confiscated. At certain times, the farmer had to mortgage his land to the moneylender for the arrangement of money to pay the tax. In case of non-repayment of loan, the farmer had to sell his land. In this way, the farmers were exploited by the moneylenders and zamindars. Students, even we have studied how peasants of Bengal were forced to produce indigo, and the British government used to always protect the landlords and moneylenders and gave unjust treatment to the farmers. The farmers rose against this injustice. The peasants in Bengal formed their union and revolted against the compulsion of cultivating indigo. The play Neel Darpan, written by Deen Bandhu Mitra, brought to notice of the society the poor conditions of the peasants producing indigo. Students, indigo is a cash crop, and peasants were forced to produce indigo, which resulted into the lack of food grains. And due to shortage of food grains, peasants in Bengal suffered from famine. Similarly, in 1875, farmers from Maharashtra rose in revolt against the atrocities of the landlords and moneylenders. Atrocities means cruelty, injustice. Landlords and moneylenders used to be very cruel with the peasants in Maharashtra by asking them to pay land tax on time, and if failed, their lands were confiscated. The farmers in Uttar Pradesh formed Kisan Sabha in 1918 under the leadership of Baba Ramchandra, and the Mopla peasants rose in a great revolt in Kerala. But the British government crushed all the revolts conducted by the peasants. Students, as we know, the British government was very strong. It had power to control the peasants, and therefore very easily British government crushed the revolts of the peasants. In 1936, with the initiative of Professor N. J. Ranga, the Akhil Bharatiya Kisan Sabha was established. Swami Sahajananda Saraswati was the president of this organization. Students, this organization was built to fight for the rights of the peasants. And this Sabha, Akhil Bharatiya Kisan Sabha, presented a declaration of peasants' rights to the Indian National Congress. Students, why did Akhil Bharatiya Kisan Sabha presented declaration of peasants' rights to Indian National Congress? Because Indian National Congress was only body which could help the people to fight for their rights and solve their problems. And where was this session held? The session of Congress was held in the rural part of Faizpur in Maharashtra, where thousands of peasants attended this session. Now we will study about the contribution of Sane Guruji towards the farmers, workers and Dalit movement. In 1938, the crops in eastern Khandesh were destroyed due to heavy rain, because of which the condition of the farmers was miserable. Why the condition of farmers was miserable? Because farmers depend on their crops for their livelihood, which were destroyed due to heavy rains. So, the condition of farmers was very sad. They were unhappy. In this situation, it was not possible for farmers to pay land revenue. So, in order to get the land revenue waived means to cancel. Sane Guruji organized meetings and processions at many places. He took out marches on the collector office. The peasants participated in large numbers in the revolutionary period of 1942. In this way, Sane Guruji supported to the peasants' movement. Students, he also supported to the workers' movement by building up unity of workers. He tried to create strong center of workers union at Dhule Amalner, and he was also the president of Mill Workers Union of Amalner. Students, Sane Guruji also supported to Dalit movement. Due to social inequality in society, Dalits were not allowed to enter the temples. So, Sane Guruji went on fast unto death to open the doors of Vittal temple at Pandharpur for the Dalits. Now, let us learn about the workers' movement. In the later half of 19th century, efforts were made to solve the problems of the workers of textile mills, railway companies and such industries in India. Shashipat Banerjee and Narayan Meghaji Lokhande gathered the workers at local level. The contribution of Narayan Meghaji Lokhande to the workers' movement was so valuable that he is described as father of Indian workers' movement. He had also formed the Mill Workers Union known as Bombay Mill Hands Association in 1890, and he was also the chairman of Mumbai branch of Satya Shodhak Samaj founded by Mahatma Phule. Due to the efforts of Narayan Meghaji Lokhande, the workers started getting weekly holiday on Sunday from 10th June 1890. At the same time, an agitation was launched against the poor condition of the tea plantation workers in Assam. In 1899, the Great Indian Peninsular Railway workers called for a strike for their demands. During the anti-partition movement, workers carried out strikes from time to time in support of Swadeshi. Students, Indians boycotted the foreign goods and given importance to Swadeshi. After the First World War, due to industrialization, there was growth of worker class in India and then a necessity for nationwide worker union was felt. Therefore, in 1920, All India Trade Union Congress AITUC was established. Narayan Malhar Joshi N.M. Joshi had a major role in working of AITUC. He was an Indian trade union leader and involved in labor issues and started All India Trade Union Congress in 1920 along with Lala Lajpat Rai. Lala Lajpat Rai was the president of the first session of AITUC, that is, All India Trade Union Congress. Shripad Amrut Dange, Muzaffar Ahmad, such socialist leaders worked to form militant organizations by spreading the social ideology among the workers. Students, militant means aggressive, violent movements were carried out by Shripad Amrut Dange and Muzaffar Ahmad, such leaders, by spreading social ideology among the workers. In 1928, the Mumbai Mill Workers Union went on strike for 6 months. Many such strikes were made by the railway workers, jute mill workers, etc. The government was disturbed to see this growing strength of the workers' movement. Students, if mill workers and rail workers will go on strike, then it will be a great loss on trade and industrialization of British government. Therefore, to suppress this movement means to stop these agitations, British government made some legislations. Legislation means laws. In this way, by showing the determination and strength against the British power, the worker struggle proved to be supportive to the national movement. Now, let us learn about the socialist movement. Students, British ruled India by playing divide and rule policy. There was social inequality due to the British rule in India. Therefore, it was necessary for Indians to restructure the society on the basis of economic and social equality by overthrowing the British rule from India. Through this realization, there was rise and growth of socialist ideology. Now, let us learn about the contribution of the young Indian socialist. The socialist youths, while they were in prison at Nasik, they decided to form the Socialist Party within the Indian National Congress. According to this decision, in 1934, the Congress Socialist Party was formed, which included leaders like Acharya Narendra Dev, Jayaprakash Narayan, Minu Masani, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, etc. At the same time, Indians got introduced to Karl Marx and his communism. Students, Karl Marx was a German philosopher, economist, historian, social revolutionary, and Indians were influenced by his theory, that is communism. Communism means the political system in which the state owns and controls all factories, farms, services, etc., and aims to treat everyone equally. And this theory of Karl Marx influenced Indians to fight for India's independence. Lokmanya Tilak was already influenced by the theory of Karl Marx as he had already written an article on Karl Marx in 1881. Manavendranath Roy played active role in the international communist movement. Inspired by Karl Marx's theory of communism, the Communist Party was formed in India in 1925. Militant organization of workers and peasants was made by young communists, because of which the British government started feeling the danger of communist movement, because the leaders of Communist Party were planning conspiracy to overthrow the British rule. Therefore, Shripad Amrit Dhange, Muzaffar Ahmad, Keshav Neelkant Zaglekar, etc. were arrested by the British officers. These leaders were given different punishments. This trial took place at Meerut, and therefore it is known as Meerut conspiracy case. Even after the Meerut trial, the influence of communist workers' movement remained constant, because Indians had realized that it was necessary to overthrow British rule and fight for the India's independence. Students, in next history lecture, we will continue with the feminist movement and the Dalit movement. Thank you.